You're listening to the Apple Insider Podcast.
Welcome back to the Apple Insider Podcast. I'm Mike Worthley, and joining me is Victor Marks.
I think that means I can just go get a cup of tea, doesn't it?
Well, you tell me, Victor.
I was actually about to say, Victor, welcome back.
Thank you.
You missed an interesting week, but you're here for the event and the launch. Things. I mean, you didn't know about the iPhone launch and event things. You were here for that, weren't you?
I was around for that one, yeah.
Okay. I thought it was quite exciting. What did you think?
I'm mixed, and we'll get into that in just a moment. I think we need to talk about both what was announced and also the event itself and the way that these things are presented. But I think obviously what was announced was a lot more important or more longer term interesting than the event itself. But there's some commentary to be had here. First of all, I want to talk about OmniFocus for the web. You use it, don't you?
Excessively, yes.
Yeah. OmniFocus is a professional to-do list manager that helps you, as the tagline says, accomplish more every day. And the benefits of OmniFocus are lower stress because OmniFocus remembers everything for you. Better planning because OmniFocus makes planning and reviewing easy. Getting work done on time because OmniFocus tells you what you need to do next. OmniFocus for the web shipped earlier this year. It's a browser-based companion app to OmniFocus for Mac and iOS. Where there's a browser, you have OmniFocus, and it syncs with OmniFocus for Mac and iOS. Designed for laptop or desktop use, particularly for people who have to use Windows or Linux or who can't install software on their Mac. You know, if you had a work Mac, for example, if there was some reason administratively why you weren't supposed to install additional software, you could use the web. And it includes core features of OmniFocus: actions, projects, tags, due dates, and more. And more features are on the way. There's a forecast feature in testing right now. The Apple Insider Review calls it unparalleled online software engineering. To learn more, try it out. Go to omnifocus.com. Now, before we talk event, first of all, I'm Victor and you're William. Mm-hmm. I was just having fun with the introduction there. There are a couple of apps that I'd like to highlight that I think are really interesting. And I'm not going to say a whole lot about them. This isn't a full-blown app review. It's just these are tips for things that I think are cool. First of all, Dark Noise is an application that I have enjoyed a lot. It is a app that fits within that sort of white noise classification in terms of playing background music like waterfalls or rivers or rainfall are very common for that kind of application, or white noise. But this one also does interesting things like mechanical keyboard typing. Or the noise of a desk fan, or things like that. And what I've found is that if you listen to music with words, it can be distracting away from your work and make you less productive. But if you put a mechanical keyboard typing in the background, it feels like you're in an office and almost in competition with someone else who's being more productive than you. And it will get you to be more productive as a byproduct. It's kind of fun. I like it. I like the app. I like the way that its interface is done. It's really well done. I'm very happy with it. So look for Dark Noise app. That's a good one. Another one that I want to mention is Cards, which is going to be renamed Cluster Cards, and or Cards Cluster. I can never remember. Forgive me. But if you look for Cards, it's a business card scanning app. And I was just in an event in far, far away in Hong Kong, and you get a lot of business cards from people, and you need to scan them and then be able to do things with those cards. And I've tried a number of these things. I've tried Card Munch. I've used ABYY, Fine Reader Card Scanner, all kinds of applications for doing this. And this one is really cool. And it's even got Siri shortcuts involved, which is a lot of fun. And lastly, I want to mention Apollo. Apollo is a Reddit app. So if you're into Reddit, and Reddit is a mirror of the internet, and whatever's good on the internet is on Reddit, and whatever's bad on the internet is probably on Reddit as well, probably in some banned subreddit. And the cool thing about Apollo is that it's better than the actual official Reddit app. If you're looking for one because you like using Reddit, this is the way to go. Check out Apollo. So those are my personal endorsements, not anything that's being paid for as ads. It's just those are apps I've found lately that I thought were cool that I thought I'd mention.
Can I throw one in? Because you put it in my head. OmniFocus itself. You talked about the web version, which is amazingly useful, but I cannot wait for OmniFocus for iOS 13 and iPad OS 13. Yeah, I'm not on any of the test betas. I haven't been using in this, but hearing what they're doing and what they're adding, it's just a really exciting time to be using apps, I think. So yay for apps. This is App Week.
Yay, apps. Well, I'm particularly highlighting the indie app developer, right? The small time, the indie app developer, the single developer kind of thing. Julian Chavo is the developer of the business card scanning app. He lives in Hong Kong. I did not get the chance to meet him. I hope that I do the next time I'm out that way. And he was the award winner of a WWDC scholarship. He's like 15 years old. It's really awesome to see people that are making apps for these things that are younger than OS X itself, that are doing really cool stuff with this thing.
So you don't like the fact that I'm making iOS apps that aren't particularly cool. So I'm old and functional, but okay, it's fine.
We will review your old and functional apps written by old and functional people some other time.
Yeah, I'd have to tell you what it was first, and I'm not sure I can take that scrutiny. But this is, as I said, it's App Week, isn't it? There's nothing else going on, is there at all?
Not a thing.
No?
Not a thing at all.
Are you going to pre-order? That's the question.
Well, so let's talk about this. A couple of days ago, on September 10th, Apple had a big party, and they invited everyone to the Steve Jobs Theater, and they announced Apple TV Plus. And I'm so excited. I'm going to go ahead and get that right away. I'm going to have a year's subscription to that.
By buying some new hardware.
Potentially. So my wife walked in while we were watching the keynote and saw Jason Momoa on the screen for the C trailer, and said, "Oh my goodness, what is that? That's Jason Momoa. Can we get that?" And I looked up at her and I said, "Why, yes, we can. $5 a month." And so I think one of the things that you and I have been asking ourselves and other people have been asking themselves is, how is Apple going to make this thing a success? How is Apple going to attract people to a content business? And what is Apple trying to do? Is Apple trying to out Netflix? What's going on here, basically, is the question. Because it doesn't, traditionally, the whole thing about Apple has been to take a device or to take a user problem and solve it through superior software and hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And then years ago, Apple said, we're no longer Apple Computer, we're just Apple, because we do everything now. We don't have to be a computer company. We do more than computers. And everyone said, yeah, sure, that's fine, right? We believe you. Keep making those computers. And now we're seeing the sort of expansion with Apple Health, with all kinds of things like this, and now into content. And it occurred to me the other day that Apple is not trying to out Netflix. Apple is trying to out HBO.
Is it?
I think it is. And it resonates with me like this because I think that if you look at the scope of Apple's programming and what they say they're trying to do with it, right? They say that they're trying to tell good stories. They're trying to tell interesting stories that are a little deeper than you might get elsewhere. They're trying to be thought-provoking. They're trying to yes, dabble in entertainment, but dabble in entertainment that has meaning, right? It's not just ephemeral. And so that really strikes the heart of the best of what HBO has done and the best of what Netflix has attempted, but maybe not always succeeded at with their originals. I think it's going to be interesting. And I think that between their pricing, $5 a month, and between their everyone who buys new hardware gets a year's subscription, and by buys new hardware, I mean an iPhone, an iPad, a Mac, right? I think probably a HomePod is probably included in that set. I'm not sure. Can't remember. But that's the thrust of it. Gets a year's subscription that are going to get enough subscribers to make it a meaningful business.
Well, I think Apple's in it for the long term, as it usually is.
Yeah.
But HBO made its mark not just for, not being network television for going deeper with things, but it did have a generally more adult feel to things, and we're not seeing that yet from Apple. If anything, things that seem a little darker, a little edgier, are being pulled back from by Apple. I mean, we won't know till we see them, but I don't associate it with the HBO model because of that.
Yes and no. I think C, which is set in a world where everyone is blind, is potentially somewhat dark. Right? That is an adult kind of theme and a thing to think about that might be scary to people who are not adults. The one that got pulled was one that featured Richard Gere and another actor who I'm already forgetting, and had gun violence and almost glamorization of gun violence. And, well, you could say that that's adult themed. I think Apple's pulling it back from that is not about because it's adult, but because it's glorifying gun violence and doesn't align with Apple's values.
Except how far into the pitch did they have to go before they knew what they were getting, and something happened to make them pull out. Are they changing their attitude? Are they trying to dance right on the edge and not quite making it? We'll see when we see. But I get it. I don't agree that it's the HBO model yet. It's closer to Disney, I think, than HBO, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, we don't have live-action remakes of animated adventures there. I'd say Disney is probably not necessarily the right model either. But we'll continue watching. What's going to be interesting is to see how much content they've actually got in store, because they've said that they're going to be launching new shows, monthly?
Yeah. That said to me, we haven't got that many, which is what I've thought of before, really. If this was a network, they're doing the thing that... was it Fox, wasn't it? Fox and UPN and all this, that started out with so many evenings a week and very slowly expanded to full schedule. Apple's doing the equivalent of that, I think, with streaming. And, why not? They'll get there, but it's limited, I think, at first.
Well, looking forward to it. They also announced a new Apple Watch, and the new Apple Watch comes in aluminum for you, stainless steel, titanium, and ceramic.
And I would say the key thing is that it's always on. But I love this. I don't know if you noticed this, Apple's attention to detail. Every Apple speaker whose watch we could see, up to the moment of the announcement, was wearing an Apple Watch Series 4. Everyone afterwards was wearing an Apple Watch Series 5. Isn't that really, really thought out? I love that stuff.
Yeah. And the watch, as you say, has an always-on display, and what they're doing is they're dimming the display rather than putting it completely to sleep. And the storage size has increased. So you now get, 32 gigs of storage in it instead of something like 8?
Yes. I can't remember if it was 8 or 16. I'm just not sure. I don't tend to use the storage for all that much. I know you can put music and stuff on, but since I don't have the LTE version, I just have the regular GPS one, so I keep all my stuff on my iPhone. Do you think that's going to make a... Oh, well, actually, even saying it to you, you can see that's a further step down the route to freeing the watch from the phone, isn't it? Yeah, see what they did there.
Our good friend, your friend and mine, Neil Hughes, loved to put music on his watch because he'd go running and maybe connectivity wasn't great enough for Apple Music or whatever reason was. He wanted to have the music there.
Yes.
And so that increase in storage is a big favor to people who use the watch like Neil does.
And a big favor, well, whatever the opposite of a big favor is for me, who doesn't like running. I'd have to run longer now. God, they don't think about us lazy types, do they?
Not especially.
Yeah.
Well, except when they're thinking about you in terms of the Breathe app and closing your activity rings and getting you up and moving once an hour.
Right.
They do think about you, William.
What I don't understand is yesterday I was running across Birmingham city centre. I live in Birmingham in the UK, running workshops, going everywhere, missing connections, doing all this stuff. And I managed to triple my move goal, smash the exercise goal, but somehow not come even close to my stand goal. I was quite hurt by that. But this is a separate issue, I understand. Okay, are you going to get an Apple Watch Series 5?
I haven't had one since the Series 0. I like the idea very much, but I'm more focused on buying a new phone at this moment.
All right. In which case, are you pre-ordering?
Before we do that, I want to tell you about one of our proud sponsors of the show. When you're preparing to travel abroad this summer, and of course the summer's almost over, but when you're preparing to travel abroad, there's a lot of things on your checklist to pack. But what's probably missing is the one app that's going to keep you safe and secure online while you're away, ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN doesn't just encrypt your data while you surf the internet on public airport and hotel Wi-Fi. It even lets you stream and access content that normally would have been blocked in that country. With ExpressVPN, you can unblock all your favorite websites and have access to the internet just like you would if you were at home. It runs in the background of your computer or phone, and then you use the internet just like you normally would. You download the app, you click connect, and voila, you're protected. I never go online while traveling without ExpressVPN, and you shouldn't either. ExpressVPN is the fastest VPN I've tried, and it costs less than $7 per month and comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. ExpressVPN uses new cutting-edge technology called Trusted Server to make sure there are no logs of what you do online. So no matter what you're trying to browse online, ExpressVPN gives you instant access all over the world. Don't travel anywhere this summer without downloading ExpressVPN. Protect your online activity today and find out how you can get 3 months for free at expressvpn.com/AppleInsider. That's expressvpn.com/AppleInsider for 3 months free with a 1-year package. Visit expressvpn.com/AppleInsider to learn more. And it's true, I have normal websites like my health insurance website that don't work outside of the U.S.
Oh.
When I'm traveling in Hong Kong, they don't want me to pay my bill online.
They want you to relax and have a good time, or
they
work
want
very
me
hard
to forget to pay my premium and let the insurance lapse, which would be terrible.
Okay.
So instead, ExpressVPN actually allows that website to work and allows me to pay my health insurance premium.
What does it matter if you skip one? God, so fussy. Okay, I did not know that, and I'm going to China next year for a thing.
Are you really?
Yes. So I feel I will be VPNing up. Thank you.
You probably should, yeah. No, I did it when I was in Hong Kong. I've done it when I've been in China in the past, and it's there's no 100% protection kind of thing you can do, but using an iPhone and using a VPN like ExpressVPN are both good plans. ExpressVPN, of course, protects your connectivity, and with an iPhone, the beauty of the iPhone is that if you needed to, if you really had to, you can restore back to a known good, cryptographically secure state by restoring through iTunes.
Okay.
So it really is a good plan.
It does kind of leave
now
the
let's
big
talk
question,
about.
Though. Are you pre-ordering?
What? Okay. I'm going to have to, yes.
Oh. So what are you going to pre-order, and why, and what, and when, and who, and which, and where?
Well, so this is the debate. Let's talk about this. First of all, there are 3 new iPhones that were announced. They are the iPhone 11, the iPhone 11 Pro, and the iPhone 11 Pro Max.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, you tell me, what's the difference between them?
Okay. The 2 Pro models have a considerably better screen, fewer bezels, better camera system. I mean, actually, radically better camera system than I was expecting, even though I knew it was supposed to be a triple thing. Better battery life. Other than that, not a huge amount.
All right. So, what's the same between them?
Is it the same processor?
It is.
Okay. Yep, you got me. That's it. It's basically the same phone with bits on the outside are different, but significantly.
Yeah.
So,
pretty much, it's the same processor. It's the same GPU because that's built into the processor. It's largely the same, right? The screen technology is different, as you said. The screen sizes are a little different, as you said. And of course, the devices are thicker than in years past. They weigh a little more than in years past, but they have more battery life. For example, the iPhone 11 is analogous to a XR, and it has 1 more hour of battery life than a XR. The iPhones 11 Pro tend to have either 4 or 5 hours more battery life. Screen technology is different, as you say. The camera system, the iPhone 11 has a wide and now an ultra-wide lens. The 11 Pro has a telephoto wide and ultra wide lens.
When you put it like that, I would. You saying it like that is how it makes me think of the way I thought of it before it was coming out. I was conscious there was likely to be a triple camera system and that people who like this stuff really liked it, but I didn't have any particular interest. I do take photographs, but not a great deal. And then when it came out, and specifically when they had Filmic Pro showing that amazing version of their app on it, that's the one. Suddenly I thought, oh, I need to get one of these. I don't know how yet. I have to trade in or something. But it's the triple camera system with video. The ability to record both the close-up and the widescreen at the same time. I mean, actually, when I'm filming, I don't usually want my widescreen
and the front-facing camera, mate.
I don't want it to be exactly the same angle, but to have that facility there, you know instantly that you get coverage, the editing options are much better, and you can cut down on your shooting time. It's just amazing. Yes.
Right, and it also uses the front-facing camera.
Yes, you can. So you can have. Can you have all 4 cameras going at the same time?
Yep. Yeah.
But recording simultaneously, it's just brilliant. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't get a 64 gigabyte iPhone when you're shooting 4K times 4, but you could.
Yeah. So my intention here, because you keep asking me, is to get a 256 gig phone.
Mm-hmm. Hang on, let me guess. I can tell. It seems to me you're going for the iPhone 11.
I am leaning that way. And the reason is solely around cost.
Yeah.
I am having a hard time rationalizing the jump in price.
Well, it sounds to me like you're much more on the verge of pulling the trigger to buy it, and I still can't. I spent a lot of money on the phone last year, and Apple's trading thing is good, but it's not the best.
Well,
so I'm not so sure, but I am leaning towards the iPhone 11 Pro.
Right. So for me, the situation is this. If I were trading in, my carrier, Verizon in this case, would give me a trade-in value that's probably maybe about $100 less than I owe on the phone because I've been doing an installment payment plan.
Right.
And so trading in would make reasonable sense, more or less. Give up $100 for the privilege of having the newer thing. I'm not doing that because I really don't need to trade in the phone. What I really need to do is get another phone. I'm replacing my daughter's iPhone 6.
All right. Right.
And so my plan was to hand her my 10R and then replace it with something else for me.
That works.
Now, I could replace it with another 10R, but if we're doing this and it's this year, I may as well just go ahead and get an 11, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I get the same phone with a better processor and an additional hour of battery life and another lens.
I've nearly paid off my iPhone XS Max, and in an ideal world, I would keep it and get the new phone so that I have 2 really good cameras for shooting. But it's not really financially practical. So if you can do that with yours, yes, go for it.
Yeah. Let's see. Other things that are important to note here. iPad.
Yes, I honestly wasn't expecting that. I thought if anything was going to come up that wasn't, an iPhone, it might be an iPad Pro because we knew some were coming. But it seems like a nice. It's the cheapest iPad around, isn't it? And I like all of those words.
It's very affordable. It's $329 or $299 US educational pricing, and basically it is mostly the same device as before, except that now it's a 10.2-inch screen,
which is a substantial difference. Yes.
Well, over 9.7. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it doesn't sound like it is. Just when you see it, I think you very conscious. It's difficult to go. It's one of these things Apple always does this, that it's hard to go back one. I sort of like the fact that they've already made my XS Max seem really old. It's not fair.
That wonderful thing. Oh, that old thing. Yeah.
How do they do it? Tim Cook actually said, he put the slide up and said it was the most advanced iPhone we've ever done. And yet there was something dismissive about it. Like, that's history. Who would buy one of those? We've got these. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, so this is a good question. One of the things that I thought about when I was watching the keynote was how rehearsed and how sort of by rote and passionless these things have become.
Oh, interesting. I grant you rehearsed to within an inch, but passionless. I was actually watching the launch of the iPhone SE from, what was that, 2016, starting a feature for AppleInsider, and I was surprised how lackluster it was compared to the stuff we've had now. I mean, it was a new phone then, but it was almost like, oh, and I suppose it does this kind of thing. It was really low-key level.
That's how I felt about this event in many ways, that the presenters were repeating the scripted tropes, right? You know, the lines are the same lines from keynotes of years past, that they lack the energy that Jobs would have given into them. Now, of course, any Craig Federighi segment is going to be full of life and full of energy and with a little bit of humor. And that's probably the best representation of what a keynote should be that lives on from that Jobs kind of era of presenting. But Tim Cook is quiet and reserved, and we know it. And that's fine. Greg Joswiak, or Jaws as we're calling him, is pretty quiet and reserved and by the books ho-hum. But, you know, it was very much repeating the lines that we've come to expect from these keynotes without a whole lot of passion or exuberance.
There is an Apple event drinking game, or there should be, isn't there? Yeah, you can predict the giant majority of things they'll say. It's the best iPhone we've ever done, all that kind of stuff. But Phil Schiller, there's no doubt that man really is a camera nerd, and there's something delightful about seeing his excitement. And I thought Deirdre, I find it very hard to call her Deirdre, because in Britain it would be Deirdre, but Deirdre O'Brien, I actually thought she was a better speaker than Angela Ahrendts used to be, and I thought Ahrendts was good. So I didn't come away from that thing this way. Were you just perhaps very far away in Hong Kong or somewhere, and they looked...
It's just that when, you know, there were people that saw this that told me this is awkward.
Wow.
That it's really, you know, why are they forcing product managers to do this when it's not what they do, when it's not their thing? And of course, the answer to that is you want these people who are involved in these things getting up and speaking about it, but you presume that they would be able to communicate why it's so cool, or communicate the passion behind it that it's so cool. And really, I think the best part of that kind of passion that really came across was in the video, the pre-recorded video about the watch and people with disabilities.
That was very good, but okay. I can't remember this. I can't remember the first time Craig Federighi spoke at any of these events, but somebody was mentioning recently that his very first time, he was everything you just said, of stilted and awkward. And now, look at him, he's a true showman, and very likable showman for it. So, you know, people take time, people do things. I don't think you have any doubt that they know what they're doing. Whereas, for example, it's unfair that this leaps to my mind, but whenever I'd watch Steve Ballmer doing a Windows presentation, I wasn't fully convinced he was certain of all of the words he was using. And I know that's unfair of me, but that's the image that would always come across. So didn't have that with this.
Ballmer, as the owner of the Clippers, is a lot more convincing than Ballmer as the head of Microsoft.
LA Clippers, is that baseball? I think it's a sports thing.
Basketball.
Right. Okay, I've never seen him talk about them, but I don't follow any sports.
He has all the same exuberance that he used to do with the developers dance, but it's believable. It's credible because he's into basketball, he's into his team, he's supporting his team. It's totally believable, where it wasn't, and that's why he was widely ridiculed, besides being sweaty and jumping around. And with these keynotes, to go back to something that you and I have talked about numerous times, it just looks a little tired.
I don't disagree. I'm not with you. I think this is the first time in ages I was a little weary of how. I don't remember 10 years ago, a friend who actually works in the PC press was saying how annoyed he was that he had to cover the Apple event because just like ever, they take this long to do something. But yes, they always do. So come in for the end if that's the only bit you want. I didn't understand. I got his analysis, but his objection to it. This one time, I usually think that Apple is really good at painting a picture and making it seem inevitable that you will see the world the way they want you to. And this time there are a couple of things where I didn't have that. I never get it with the game stuff because I'm just not a gamer. So I kind of mentally tune out anyway. But even with Apple TV Plus, which is much more my wheelhouse, I knew most of this stuff already and I got a little bored. But other than that, I really perked up during the Filmic Pro. I mean, I think I literally sat up for it because it had never occurred to me that the 3 cameras would be that useful. So
here's my summary on what's going on here. There are people who say, stop saying it's a new phone. It's the same phone as last year's with a new camera. Fine, I get it. I think what happened here is that they are touching on improving every part of the experience in some way for every type of customer. So if you are that casual gaming customer and you want games that your family can play without being swamped with in-app purchases or adverts, Apple Arcade is the way to do that. And the new processor has even better support for Metal, so you're going to get better quality of games. One person told me, here's a game that would look better and be easier to play on an Xbox. Well, maybe, but the fact that it looks as fantastic as it does on this platform, on the phone, and is going to work on Apple TV is a good thing, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're into games, you've got something. It's been addressed. If you're into cameras and if you're into photography or movies, you've got something. You've been addressed, right? If you're into using the phone for things that are complex, like you're doing documents and stuff like that. You've been addressed. You've got Siri shortcuts and things like that. Every part of this touched on something that people do with the phone.
Okay. Yes, that's true. But you're building to something.
So this, when people say this wasn't innovation, how dare they call the event innovation? Well, fine, but every part of the phone got touched and improved for every type of user. People also say, how dare they call the iPhone Pro a Pro phone when in fact it's the same processor and same guts as the other phone.
Right. How long have we had this?
And that's a
argument?
Valid argument, right? It does. When we talk about Pro machines, they should have more grunt, more hardware support to be able to handle heavier tasks, and these ones arguably do not.
Or the non-Pro one is lucky.
Fine, but what's the differentiation?
Does there have to be a differentiation? The camera sells it
when they put a Pro label on it. Yeah, it kind of does. So. I think they would have been better served if they had named them similarly to how they name the Apple Watch. Right? Apple Watch Series 5, and it comes in 2 sizes. Right?
So you'd say iPhone Series 11 or whatever comes in 3 sizes. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think I might prefer that to iPhone 11 Pro Max, which does seem to need a bit of a run-up to it, but... It's easier to say than XS Max or 10S Max. Isn't that funny? I've already forgotten.
Or even though they could do iPhone 2019.
Yeah, come January the 1st. I mean, it's not like it hasn't been done before. Windows 95 came out, I think, in November. Very famously, Adobe Illustrator 88. I'm not sure they made it before 89. And then there's Dragnet 55, Galactica 1980. It's all been done and never successfully.
I mean, I'm just looking. So. If I open up the About This Mac on my Mac,
yeah. Oh, it says late 2018 or early 2019 or something like that.
In this case, mid 2014.
Right. Mine just says brackets 2018. They knew they were only bringing one out. Okay.
Yep. So. Any of those, I think, are preferable to the name that you mentioned, and I think preferable to using Pro for something that is not differentiated from the non-Pro machine.
I think these phones are Pro machines. I just agree with you that in so many ways there's a differentiation with the other one. But I'm not saying they're not Pro because the non-Pro one is good. if you can
Yeah.
follow your chain to that.
Now, I had another discussion with a fellow who was looking at all the filmmaking features and was looking at all the stuff that Filmic was doing and the cinematic stabilization, which looks awesome, and said, who exactly is going to use this?
Hello.
And I said, well, Steven Soderbergh, for one. And he says, yeah, that's what I thought, but who else? And I said, thinking about this, I think the answer is really that it's not about Steven Soderbergh. It's about finding the next generation of filmmakers and giving them the tools that the earlier generations didn't have. For example, Steven Spielberg, right? His earliest stuff was taking a film camera and capturing his Boy Scout troop shooting movies. They were playing cowboy movies, and he filmed it, right?
I didn't know that, but okay, yeah.
And Kevin Smith, when he went to do Clerks, right? They rented cameras. They did it on a shoestring budget with film. There are a number of people who have said throughout the years that I've been looking at this, don't go to film school. Instead, spend the time and effort learning about scripting and then go out and shoot a movie on your own. That the money that you put into film school may better serve you by actually going and trying to make stuff and learning by doing.
Yes, it's a very strong argument. I'm sure there are people who counter it, but that's what I think as well, yeah.
And that making these tools, making 3 cameras, making it, or 4 cameras if you include the front, making it possible to use them all at the same time, making tools like Filmic is about discovering the next generation of filmmakers by making the tools accessible.
I was going to say I couldn't agree more, but I actually think I can agree just a little bit more, because as well as all of that, there's me. There's a project I've just shot that would have been easier with exactly this, and there's stuff I got planned for next year that will be better because of this if I get one of these phones. So, yeah, who uses them? Me. Hello.
And that is all I have to say about this. If you have a recommendation for which phone I ought to get, go ahead and write me at victor@appleinsider.com. And we've been doing this podcast for ages. This podcast has been going on since before the introduction of the iPhone 6S, at least.
Goodness me, I did not know that. Okay, I'm trying to work out when I started listening then. It can't have been that long after, actually, but how time flies. Okay.
I remember discussing on this very show about the rumors around 3D Touch.
Right.
And then we got 3D Touch introduced. And now, with this iPhone, 3D Touch is dead.
Oh, were we ever that young? Okay.
It's been replaced with haptic touch. Yes. And someone said to me this very morning, what is the point of 3D Touch? I never understood the allure of it anyway. And I think the problem there was that 3D Touch was meant to be kind of like a right-click menu, a contextual menu on Mac, or kind of like a way to dive into an app without actually having to launch the whole thing. And the problem is that it really wasn't a consistent interface from app to app, and it wasn't discoverable in the way that you knew what you were going to get when you did it. And for those reasons, I think Siri Shortcuts is probably the replacement for it. I think that's not a clear replacement. It's not exactly a direct line, but that's where that kind of thing goes.
I've been reasonably consistently using it for Launch Center Pro. I put a couple of things in there that I often use. The trouble is I have noticed that without a reason that I can work out, sometimes I will press it. Launch Center Pro opens with a little menu of the 4 things I want. And sometimes it does that and offers me a QR code reader. And I can't. The one time I wanted a QR code reader, it didn't come up. So I kind of just gave up using that sort of stuff. So inconsistency within a single app is an unexpected issue, but you're right, it's there. So,
well, I want to talk a little bit for a second about Tailor Store. Tailor Store is an online shop that creates customizable dress shirts that start at just $59 with endless options to choose from for men and women. And they make it really easy to get your measurements. Instead of using a tape measure, there's an app for the phone. And you go ahead and install the app on your phone. You put it down at the sort of the corner of the wall angled up, and then you stand a few feet away within the frame that they put on the camera screen of the phone. And it takes pictures of you and then uses that to create your measurements. So instead of having to work out what your measurements are, they get it from a picture of you. Their generous perfect fit guarantee takes the risk of ordering away completely. If it doesn't fit as you'd like it to, they remake it for free, and you don't even have to bother with returns. The faulty shirt is yours. You can keep it, you can return it to charity, you can do whatever you want. They are a 100% carbon neutral business committed to making the world a fairer and better place. So I did this. I went ahead and I used the app and I took pictures of myself and ordered a shirt. And the measurement process was pretty easy. The app worked well. I wasn't entirely positive how it would work out, never having done this before, but it totally happened. And they emailed me pictures of my shirt as they were making it. And then I got the shipping notification, and sure enough, it showed up pretty soon after. The quality is the same or better as shirts that I would have bought off the rack, and I like it. I really do. I like the ability to customize. And of course, my wife and my friend looked at me and said, "Why are you making such ugly shirts?" And the answer is, I don't know. But I was just having so much fun with the customizer and making all the different options for all the different things that I'd want to do. It was great. And I like it a lot. So you can get started with your very own made-to-measure dress shirt today at tailorstore.com/AppleInsider. You'll get $20 off a selected range of their premium dress shirts or $30 off a selected luxury dress shirt, plus free shipping on your first order. That's Tailor, Tailor, store.com/AppleInsider.
I've got to ask, just to make sure I understand this. They do this from a photograph.
Yep. Yes.
I'm not sure I could resist sending an older photograph of me where I look better, and then it just
Well, it wouldn't really fit very well, would it?
Okay. That's a really generous assumption you've made there.
Don't change, William. Never change. Well, that is all the time we have. William, what phone would you buy if you could buy one?
I am looking at an iPhone 11 Pro 256 gigabytes one, because I have a XS Max 64 gigabyte, and it is too cramped. I knew it would be, but you really feel the pinch every now and again. But I don't know, because I also fancy the watch. My iPad Pro, I have an original iPad Pro that's going a little bit wrong. So basically, what I need is vastly more money, and then I'll buy them all. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm taking suggestions. If you like, go ahead and email me, please. I'd enjoy that. And if you have any words of encouragement, go ahead and let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Victor@AppleInsider.com, or, of course, William@AppleInsider.com. We will be back next week. Thank you so much, everybody.